All right. Vamos allá. Hello everyone and welcome back to Utopia. Today we are having again a guest in the channel. Today we are inviting here Stefano. Stefano is a medical doctor working here in Switzerland. He's a specialist in internal medicine and I invited him to ask him a couple of questions. Say hi to Stefano.
Ciao, 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 buongiorno a tutti. My name is Stefano e benvenuti in questo nuovo video.
Stefano is not only a specialist in internal diseases, he is also going for the second specialty in infectious diseases, and he has been all around Africa doing some humanitarian work. And if that wasn't enough, he also has his own YouTube channel, similar to mine, making some videos explaining life in Switzerland. It's in Italian, because he's Italian, but for this video he agreed to speak in English with me. So I sent him a couple of questions and what you will see is his answers. Let me know what you think and let's get to it. So Stefano, welcome to Utopia. I think I already spoiled a little bit with the first question, but maybe you can tell us what's the pathway you took from the moment you graduate in university until now becoming a specialist here in Switzerland.
Hi Guillermo, and thank you for the invitation in your channel. So my name is Stefano, I'm an Italian doctor. I made my study of medicine in Italy, particularly in Milan. While I was a student, I spent 1 year in Spain abroad with the Erasmus program, and then afterwards I made some internship in Uganda and Nicaragua. Once I finished my medical study, I left for a volunteering program in Tanzania where I spent 1 year as a junior doctor, and afterwards I started working with Doctors Without Borders in South Sudan and Central African Republic. Afterwards, as I was so interested in tropical medicine, I went to Antwerp where I joined the Institute of Tropical Medicine for a diploma in tropical medicine. And after that, I started my postgraduate training in Switzerland with a small period spent in Paris in infectious disease department. So currently I'm a specialist in internal medicine and I'm doing a fellowship in tropical and infectious diseases.
I don't know about you guys, but if I had known before when I sent him the questions that he has been in Africa, I would have asked him like 100 questions about it because I find it so interesting and I'm dying to go there. But maybe for the next time, let me know if you are also interested in the Africa topic. And if you are, maybe he agrees to give us a second video and go a bit deeper into that. But let's go back to him, to his life. Why did you choose Switzerland and why did you go to Geneva, which is a French-speaking part of Switzerland, and didn't you stay in Tessin, which is the Italian side?
So actually I chose Switzerland because I wasn't sure if I really wanted to do my postgraduate training or not, because at the time I started my training in Switzerland, I wanted to continue working for humanitarian organizations. So Switzerland was the country that at that point allowed me to have more flexibility because I could have started my training and then eventually take pauses to go back to the field. So that is the reason why I chose Switzerland at the first instance. And then why I ended up in Geneva? Well, I started in Ticino, in the Italian-speaking part of the country, and then as I wanted to continue my training in infectious diseases and tropical medicine, and here there is a very well-known center, I applied for Geneva University Hospital. So eventually I got a position here, but at the same time I needed at least 2 to 3 years to finish my internal medicine training, so I applied to the internal medicine department here as well in Geneva. I got a residency place here, so I moved with my family and I've been living in Geneva since then.
But in Geneva they speak French, and I am going to assume you didn't speak French by then. So what was your process of learning French? How did it go?
I didn't know French, I didn't study French in school, so it was, I have to admit, it was tough. So before starting my postgraduate training here in Switzerland, I spent a few months in Central African Republic where I started working in French. And then afterwards, after 1 year in Ticino, I went to Paris 6 months to start working in infectious diseases. So basically, I learned French while working in Ticino. So I woke up every morning really early in order to have 2 to 3 hours to study French every day, then doing my work as a resident doctor, and then go back home, and at the evening I was trying to have at least 1 hour every day to study French. So I want to be honest, it was very tough, but eventually gave me the opportunity to reach the level that was required in order to be able to work here in Geneva. For those colleagues who are interested in working in Switzerland and don't speak the language of the region they want to work in, my advice is be consistent. It takes time, it takes effort, it's painful, but at the end, it's worth it.
Does speaking French as a non-mother tongue language, with some accent probably, does it influence your quality of life, your quality of treatment, and the communication with your colleagues?
I've been living in Geneva for almost 5 years, so right now working in French became comfortable, I have to say. It's true that at the very beginning it was a bit more difficult, but I have to admit that I'm spoiled because in Geneva people are really open-minded, and there are so many foreign doctors and healthcare professionals, healthcare workers in general, that people are really used to hear different accents from people who their mother tongue is not French. So I have to admit that I never faced or experienced any kind of barriers or racism due to the fact that my mother tongue was not French.
What about integration? Something that we all fear, me included, is the integration in Switzerland. And when it comes to making the choice of the country where you're going to stay for the next 10, 20, or who knows how many years, you want to be able to integrate, or at least you hope. So what's your experience with it?
Actually, I don't feel so many differences compared to my homeland, Italy. I have to say that I do feel integrated in Geneva. So my family, my son was born here and we have been living for almost 5 years. We do have friends. So yeah, I would say that overall I feel integrated and I don't feel any differences compared to my previous life in Italy.
Well, thank you for sharing that. It is a true inspiration that it is possible to integrate over time. I've been here for less than 1 year and seems tricky to some degree, but it's good to know that over time it is possible. Let's get a bit more technical. Let's talk a bit more about medicine, especially internal medicine. Could you compare internal medicine when it comes to workload, hours, and so on with other countries?
So I cannot talk about other countries because except France where I spent 6 months, I never worked as a resident doctor, for example, in Italy. But it's true that in terms of workload in Switzerland, resident doctor, especially for certain specialties like internal medicine, we do work a lot. So the contract is 50 hours per week, but most of the time we do more. So it's quite intense. The clinical activity is intense, but it's true that administrative work is extremely heavy and really time consuming. So this is one of the reasons why we work so much. So I would say that overall I'm quite happy with the training I've been receiving so far. It's true that I'm in a university hospital, so it's an hospital that has main mission to train doctors and the quality is very good and high. It's true that the quality of training might vary a lot according to the center if I have to compare with other peripheral centers where I did my training at the very beginning of my life here in Switzerland, but I would say that overall the quality of doctors that are trained here is quite good. Probably the only flaw is related to the volume. It's a small country, so for some kind of intervention you don't have that high number that allow you to become extremely good. So many doctors that want to specialize on a certain specific field must spend a period of time abroad, 1 year, 2 years, in order to reach the level that they are expected to have.
Yeah, it's a sad reality of internal medicine. A lot of working hours, a lot of workloads. What about patients? How many patients do you have per doctor, more or less?
So technically, I'm still a resident doctor, although I'm a specialist in internal medicine. I have to admit that when I was working in internal medicine wards, number of patients varied a lot from 10 up to 20, I would say, even 25 sometimes in some hospitals. This is more or less the average in Switzerland. Right now, I'm more working on OPD-based department and as a consultant of infectious disease, so I don't follow patients from A to Z usually.
And let's talk a bit about working hours. This is always a very interesting topic. First of all, how many official hours do you work? And let's say, how many hours do you actually work?
So based on national contract, a resident doctor is supposed to work 50 hours per week. But I have to admit that especially when I was working in internal medicine wards, I've never finished on time. Well, I have to say probably I was able to finish on time only at the very end of my training in internal medicine. But yeah, I would say that we do work approximately around 50 to 60 hours per week.
And then you transition from resident to specialist. I assume it's not exactly the same what you do, right? So what does it change when it comes to working hours, when it comes to responsibility, when it comes to number of patients? How does it change from resident to specialist?
Yeah, so when you become a specialist, your main role is to supervise resident doctors. You have less direct contact with patients, at least for internal medicine, and you are supposed to work a little bit less and supposed to earn a little bit more. Then it depends from specialty to specialty, and it depends, of course, if after a specialty training you want to start a new training like myself doing infectious diseases after internal medicine.
Okay, so at the moment you are a specialist in internal medicine and you're going for the second specialty in infectious diseases. So here's my question. If you go for the second specialty in internal disease, do you need to do 5 years again on top of the 5 years you did in internal medicine? Or does some of the time you did in internal medicine get recognized for the second specialty and therefore you don't have to do another 5 years? How does that work?
So yes, it's a very good question, and this is one of the reasons why I like so much the residency program in Switzerland. So for example, for cardiology, you are supposed, or infectious diseases, for example, my training, you are supposed to do at least 3 years of internal medicine and 3 years of specific training in infectious diseases. But if you are already a specialist in internal medicine, those 3 years are already given for granted. So you only need to complete your 3 years of training, of specific training in infectious diseases or whatsoever, in order to be a specialist and have the rights of a second title as a specialist.
You know, when it comes to internal medicine, one of the reasons that people don't really want to go there, and I would include myself, is because it has a lot of working hours and you have to learn a lot and you have to document a lot. And there's a lot of negative things to it that makes us want to go not necessarily an easier path, but a more comfortable one. What are the positives of internal medicine? Why should someone want to go there?
Well, it's true that the workload is quite high and the amount of knowledge is required are high as well. But this is the case also for other, I would say into bracket, general specialties like general surgery or whatsoever. So I would say that I would recommend that in Switzerland for many specialties, go through some years or even a specialty in internal medicine, it's almost compulsory. So definitely compared to other countries where you can start a specialty training, for example, in cardiology directly after medical school, it gives you a broadened perspective and a broadened capability to solve a problem not specifically related to your specialty. But it's true that it takes many more years and much more pain.
Stefano, could you recommend us a book that saved your life as a resident in internal medicine? What would you, if you had to recommend us one book, what book would that be?
For my clinical activities, I would say that there was one book in particular that saved my life during the night shift especially. And this is the Surf. It's specifically targeted for Switzerland and it's available in French and in German. And this is a must-have in your pocket, although it's a bit big, but it's worth trying to make some space in your white coat to have it with you every single time. And for the exams, well, the exam for internal medicine is called MKSAP. You can use their book. They are based on the American Society of Internal Medicine, and those are very good tools to specifically prepare for the exam.
Speaking further about your dissertation in infectious diseases, this is a specialty we rarely talk about, we rarely think about. Tell us, what kind of benefits does it bring you professionally? In other words, how does it add to your professional career?
In Italy, in order to complete your medical studies, you need to produce a thesis. So formally, I'm already an MD, I have already dissertation. But it's true that if you want to go into academia in Switzerland, it's better to have a thesis, a dissertation done here in Switzerland. So this is the reason why I'm doing that right now. So I'm interested in continue working in a university hospital, developing also some research skills. And it's true that the first step to do that and to have the possibility possibility to stay in a university hospital, it's to go through dissertation and then moving towards the next step like Privatdozent up to reach the title of professor. So if you are interested in the academic world, academia in general, it's true that, especially in Switzerland, it's true that this is the first step to do a dissertation here within the country.
And tell us, Stefano, what are your plans for the future? Would you like to stay in Switzerland, or are you going back to Africa? What does the future look like?
I'm very happy here in Switzerland, especially I'm very happy here in Geneva, so I would like to continue working here, and I hope to have the possibility. I know that it's very challenging because university hospital, as you know, Guillermo, are very demanded. There is a lot of competition to stay here and to have a fixed position. So I hope to continue working on that career path. Yeah, I would say that for the moment I do not plan to move anywhere else or to go back to Italy. So our life is here, and I left Italy almost 10 years ago. So it's true that right now Geneva is home for me and for my family. So we are not planning to move anywhere in the next future. So thank you very much, Guillermo, for the invitation. It was a pleasure to share my experience with you and to collaborate with you. And I hope that my experience might be useful for your followers, and see you next time. Bye bye.
So there you have it. A happy medical doctor, specialist in internal medicine, growing a family, being integrated in Switzerland. It's not a unicorn, apparently. It can be done. He has done it, so we all can follow his steps. I think Stefano is a great inspiration for all of us, just to know that it is possible. He's doing it, so we all can. Thank you, Stefano, for sharing a bit your story in my name and Eutopia's name. And we all wish you a lot of success and happiness in the future. Take care. Like I said, Stefano has a YouTube channel and he speaks in Italian, similar topics and much more. So if you speak Italian, definitely go check it out because it's great. Any other questions that I may have missed that I could add for a different interview, let me know and write it down in the comments. So other than that, take care and see you next time. Bye bye.